Great storytelling, jaw-dropping moments, sakuga, anime titties. This is the culmination of anime in today's age. For anyone that isn't living under a rock, you probably heard or seen these weird Japanese shows. And with each show breaking records on records, be that movie, box scores, or Twitter, it makes sense to see people turn a new leaf and accept it for what it is now. It makes me so happy to see these shows trend on social media because not too long ago, not many knew or cared to give these shows a shot. Anyway, with anime growing popularity in recent years, it births newcomers who desire more shows that hit different. So with the big schlong of knowledge that I have, I want to give out my list of the best shows to start watching as a beginner. I'll be excluding shows such as My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, One Punch Man, and Attack on Titan because they're the series that trend on social media and are usually the shows that tug people into the world of anime. If by any chance you have not watched a show that I have mentioned, then I strongly urge giving them a shot. Also, keep in mind that this is opinionated, but I think this is a great way to go by when trying to watch something new, when you don't know what you prefer. But I don't like this method because usually I prefer to recommend shows by what someone says they have seen, so this list is pretty hard to determine since it's just me throwing shit out there. Anyway, I'm tired of rambling, so let's dive into the shows. The series follows two brothers who are interested in alchemy, which is presented perfectly by the narrator who says this.
Alchemy, the science of understanding, deconstructing, and reconstructing matter. However, it is not an all-powerful art. It is impossible to create something out of nothing. If one wishes to obtain something, something of equal value must be given. This is the law of equivalent exchange, the basis of all alchemy. In accordance with this law, there is a taboo among alchemists. Human transmutation is strictly forbidden. For what could equal the value of a human soul?
Honestly, I just wanted an excuse to use that since it's good-ass narration. If you listen closely, alchemy cannot create life. The brothers quickly discover this when they try to bring their mother back to life. This results in Edward losing his right arm and left leg, so he has to replace it with automel prosthetics, while Alphonse loses his physical body, so he is bound to a piece of armor. With their loss, Edward gains the ability to perform transmutation with just his hands instead of producing an alchemic circle, which he uses to become a state alchemist. The brothers have to seek the Philosopher's Stone, a mythical relic that allows the alchemists to overcome the law of equivalent exchange, which they can use to bring back their bodies. In doing so, Edward puts himself up as a living weapon, so he has access to resources in the hunt of the stone. As they travel in search of the stone, they find themselves in several situations dealing with enemies such as terrorists, monsters, and figuring out the conspiracies of the country, but nothing will stop them from achieving the goal that they have. If you have not watched the show or have been spoiled by any of the scenes, then I strongly suggest giving the show a shot. The story is presented well, presenting thought-provoking themes along with great character development and world building. Although the first 15 or so episodes feel rushed, it's actually because this is the second adaptation to the show, since the first one goes into much detail at the beginning of the story. So with the studio already having one adaptation that turns to a different route, which results in an unsatisfying ending, Brotherhood goes into full length, giving the manga adaptation the proper ending it deserves. So if you have any gripes with the beginning of the story, please keep watching because you will be rewarded greatly with back-to-back of great story arcs that level each other more and more. Also, in my opinion, the show is really easy to get into with just the first 2 episodes since you have really heavy scenes. Even though the show is a decade old, it could still be held up to anything in today's age and is considered one of the best shows of all time to many viewers. So yeah, watch it. The show focuses on a 12-year-old kid named Gon. He's determined to become the best hunter possible with the hopes of trying to find his dad, who we find out is an established hunter that hasn't been seen in years. As the story progresses, we learn that to become an official hunter, they must go through many tests that will determine if they are fit for it. As the test progresses, Gon befriends many people who have their own goals as well, so on this journey to becoming an official hunter, they have to go through many hardships and work together on achieving what they set out to do. The show is really easy to recommend because it has everything to it. It has great storytelling, awesome characters, good world building, and awesome scenes. I mean, they spend a lot of time on showing you the background characters that will be gone after an episode or two, but it makes it interesting and memorable. This is actually an accomplishment since in other shows with a million background characters, I usually tend not to care, but this show has it down perfectly. The only main downsides are that this dude is kind of sus and the manga is still on hiatus, but I believe Hunter x Hunter ended at the right point that you will love it no matter what. Yes, the first arc might be slow to some, but I can guarantee that if you keep watching, you'll love it. Each arc is unique, adding a different element to the show. show. One arc can be about a tournament, and the next they're just in a war. So if you can get through the first couple of, I'd say, bad setup episodes, then you won't have a problem finishing the show. If you loved One Punch Man, then you will love this show as well. It dives into the life of an 8th grader named Shigeo Mob Kageyama, who has gained psychic powers at a young age but doesn't really care for that and just wants to live life as a normal kid. He also has to keep his emotions in check because if he doesn't, he will trigger his abilities and go insane. What makes the show great is that it can feel more personal in a way that One Punch Man couldn't get to. This is because Mob decides that instead of relying on his powers, he would do everything on his own, which results in you seeing him struggle with real life shit. After all, he's just a weak ass kid who wants to be better. The characters add a lot to the show because you first hate them, but as it progresses you begin liking them more. What also makes this experience better is the art and animation, which makes fight scenes look pretty fucking cool. As I said before, if you loved One Punch Man, then you might love this show as well, since they share some of the same elements. Also, the first season starts off boring, so please keep watching because it'll quickly change and you'll get hooked. One day, a 16-year-old boy named Shinichi Izumi wakes up with his hand possessed by an alien parasite dubbed Migi. So with both having to coexist, they have to eliminate parasites that have been taking over the world, while Shinichi gradually transforms into someone else in different ways. The show is one of my favorites because it's relatable. Some examples are how Shinichi's first instincts can dictate what we would do, and that's researching on the internet to find answers about these parasites. It also displays the world as it is in real life, with how people's priorities towards certain things will inevitably make us unprepared, which, if you didn't know, there is a big thing called a virus that is happening this year. The show's overall attitude and message stood out to me, making the world complicated in a way. There were many times I would ask myself the same questions that were said in the series, which are really cool to see in the show. Then there's a lot of cliffhangers and sad scenes that pulled me in as well. Honestly, I can go on and on, but for the sake of not spoiling, I'll keep it there. Overall, if you want to watch a show with a complicated plot amidst a grim view of the world, while also being a unique story that will keep you thinking, then this is for you.
Death Note 直訳で死のノート
The show is one of the most popular in respects to my anime list, and has the most iconic scenes in anime which have been referenced many times since its airing. The show is about a mega brain dude named Light Yagami who stumbles across a book that has the ability to kill anyone if their name is written in it. Obviously there's more to it, but that's the important part. So if Light having this power, he uses it to pass judgment on all the criminals in the world, where it could bring no more crime. People end up worshipping his character Kira as a god, but the police led by his father see Kira as a mass criminal. So the police led by his father, along with a brilliant detective named L, who in one day narrows the case from the whole world to just the area in which they are in, being Japan. Try to find who this person is and put an end to the murders. This leads to the best showdown of brilliance in anime history, where they have to find a way to defeat one another. What makes the show so awesome is how it keeps you thinking. You start asking yourself different questions on what you would do if you were in Light's position, and if what he's doing is right or wrong. With one of the best character dynamics I've ever seen, I can guarantee that you will love watching the show. You will finish wanting more out of the story and appreciate the opportunity you got in seeing the show. Alright, the second half of the video will be more specific with the element or genre of a show or movie. Honestly, this is just an excuse to name random anime that I love. Alright, I'm going to name off anime that have the intention of making you feel a certain type of way. This movie is about a deaf girl who gets bullied in her elementary school and has to transfer away. After her mom notifies the school, Showa Ishida is singled out and gets bullied all throughout elementary school and middle school, while teachers turn a blind eye. Then, during his time in high school, he decides to finally confront this girl and fix his wrongdoings that haunt his past. What makes this movie so great is its way of using the animation and environment in the movie to portray a mood. As you watch, you begin to realize that some shit is going to happen. This movie goes into bullying, anxiety, and self-development, so you see that with how they interact with each other. Some parts make me say I don't care, since some of the characters are trash, but overall, if you have not seen this movie, then I strongly suggest giving this a shot. It's easy to get invested in and it will make you feel a certain type of way after you finish. I teared up, but as we all know, I'm a bitch. Alright, I'm going to combine these anime together. These anime are beautiful in the way that they tell their stories and have different elements that will take your breath away. Violet Evergarden draws you in with her emotionless character, but you can tell that she cares. She encounters new people through her journey that go through different circumstances and issues, so you get a story with a combination of great art, characters, and depth to it. This is because the story starts by showing us this girl who was injured in a war and starts a new life working at CH Postal Services. There she witnesses by pure chance the work of an auto memory doll who transcribes people's thoughts and feelings into words on a paper. Moved by the notion, Violet begins work as an auto memory doll, a trade that will take her on an adventure, one that will reshape the lives of her clients and hopefully lead to self-discovery. The thing that gripped me was despite just using a piece of paper, you see how important the words are to a person when she writes them. So if you want to watch a show that I consider a masterpiece in many ways, then this one's for you. The other anime that I want to mention are Anahona and Wolf Children. I know people will weirdly look at Wolf Children, so instead of diving into both, I am choosing that. Yes, Anahona is a great ass story, but I think it's fairly easy to convince any viewer to watch it, so I strongly recommend the show. But I want to talk about Wolf Children because from a new viewer's eye, it seems like it will be a furry movie, and I'm just going to say, please don't let that deter you away from this masterpiece of a story. As I see it, the author of this story could have replaced the wolves with regular humans, but instead he wanted to embrace his message, which is family choices and acceptance. With the kids as wolves, they show the struggle of discrimination, breaking social norms, and doing what you think is best for you. Honestly believe anyone who had to overcome any issues in their past can find a way to relate to this movie. It can add a different perspective to yourself and you can learn from what is happening in the movie. When I watched this movie, I quickly forgot about the negatives from the beginning of the story, since I was invested in seeing what these kids will turn into. If you've watched a Ghibli movie, then you might vibe with this one. But speaking of Ghibli, it's actually the next item on the list that I want to talk about. If you watch anime, then you might be aware of this studio, but if not, then I'll give you some info on them. Ghibli is basically how we see Disney in America. They've been one of the biggest studios when it comes to movies for the last 40 years or so. I don't know if that time frame fits, but whatever. I believe if you love anime, you should try giving a couple of movies a shot. I personally love Princess Mononoke the best, but Spirited Away is great too. And a lot of people love My Neighbor Totoro. Also, if you want more convincing, Spirited Away was the highest grossing anime film up until Demon Slayer passed it. What makes that crazy is that the movie was made in 2001. Honestly, there's tons of amazing movies by this studio, so it doesn't hurt to try them out. If you aren't fucking with the older films, then there are really amazing ones such as When Marnie Was There and The Wind Rises that have came out in the last decade. Honestly, I just wanted an excuse to finally talk about these shows, since they're some of the most impactful shows that I've seen. If you don't know, the big three make up Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. They each bring a lot to the table and are amazing in different ways. I would strongly recommend looking up a filler list for every show, since cough cough, one of them is 50% filler and then the others have a decent amount. I don't care what anyone says. If you want to get bored out of your mind, then you can watch them. But if you want to watch the story progress, then do as you're told. Anyway, first is Naruto and Bleach, which are great shows, so please check them out, since they're the shows that most likely brought Western fans into the anime world, but they have many flaws such as in the writing, character development, and the endings are questionable at best. So instead of going over why you should watch each, I'll talk about my favorite, which is One Piece. At the beginning of the show, One Piece sums up the setting. Goldie Roger is known as the Pirate King, but he is captured by the Marines. As he's about to be executed, his last words reveal the existence of the One Piece, which is the greatest treasure in the world. This scene brought forth a change in the world with what they call the Grand Age of Pirates, who all have dreams of finding this treasure. Then we finally meet the main character, Monkey D. Luffy, who's a 17-year-old boy who doesn't give a shit about what anyone has going on in their lives. We see that he isn't what a typical pirate would be, since he's a happy-go-lucky guy whose dreams are to be the Pirate King. Along the way, he meets new people that will join his crew in his adventures, and they travel through this big-ass world. The pirate crew will go through many experiences dealing with enemies, encountering new land, and just vibing along the way. I don't want to go into a full analysis mode on the show, since I want to make it my goal to go into full detail with the video or a series, but I will say some reasons why One Piece should be on anyone's watch list, and that is because it's a masterpiece. This show has some of the best character designs, world building, and story arcs in all of anime, which is why it's still going on till today. Also, in this world, they have devil fruits, which if eaten grants the consumer special powers, but bitches lose the ability to swim. I know this is random as fuck, and it's funny that they are pirates, since they will basically be around water water the whole time. Anyway, seeing how each person uses the devil fruit that they consumed is really cool. Some people find creative ways to use their powers. I mean, there are so many small details that the show goes into that I can honestly justify it going on this long. You might think the show looks weird and that you won't like it, but I will say you're only saying that because you haven't started. While it does fall for the shonen trap of having filler in each episode, it still has a lot of depth to it. But as I said before, I want to go into full detail with the show in another video, so I'm not going to waste this video on little things here and there on the show. So instead, I'll give you some advice on the show which will help you enjoy it better and make the long journey less intimidating. Alright, seriously, if I were to give out my advice, it would be looking at the show in arcs. Yes, the show seems intimidating because it's almost 1,000 episodes, but I can guarantee that you'll think it's worth it. To help you out, I'll put a list from a website of each arc and if there's filler in it. If you want to check it out, it will be linked down below and does a pretty good job. Skip every recap and opening song. You're binging the show, so you already know what's happening. Just skip it and you won't get fatigued. Also, you can enjoy the OSTs during your free time, so just save your time and skip it. If you aren't fucking with the show, then read the manga, since it does a pretty good job and goes by quicker. I did this when I got into the later parts of the anime, where I would read the manga before each arc and then watch the show, so if it's an irrelevant part, I would skip it. I still think the show is really good, and I would just watch it by itself if it didn't suffer from the shonen filler. I didn't mind for the first 600 or 700 episodes, but then it hit me, so I read the manga more and more. Alright, well, that's my guide. I promise you, if you're a shonen fan, then you will love this show. In the beginning it's slow, but please bear it because out of nowhere you'll be on episode 300 realizing, damn, I cannot stop watching. It's a rewarding experience that needs to be seen by every anime watcher. Also, going back to the character design, I really love it because it's refreshing to see. This is because a lot of shows that come out every year really look the same, so it gets tiring to see. I mean, you can't tell me that these characters look original. Anyway, it will bring so many emotions from you that you will not see it coming. And each arc will level up each other, making you think, how will this get better? So please watch One Piece because I know you'll fall in love with it. Honestly, I could name 1,000 different shows that you guys should watch, but it takes a long time to make these videos since my memory is trash, and putting together my thoughts can be difficult, which is why I'll keep it to there. Once again, this list can go on and on forever, but I just wanted to name off shows that impact a viewer in several ways and fulfill their interest in the world of anime. Anyway, for any future recommendations, you can either comment down below and ask, or you can use this website called myanimelist.net, which I used the most when I first started looking for shows since it's pretty easy to use. There's also Anachart.net, but I only mainly use it for currently airing shows since they are arranged way better. Anyway, if you're not fucking with the old shows that I recommended, then you can watch these videos that go into full detail about some of the new shows that are out right now. Alright, that's all. Peace.